Hi, George Durkee back again with lesson 6 on creating a web app from the web map we learned to do in the previous lessons.
Okay, let's take a look at creating a web app. But before we do that, I just want to show you one capability of Arc online here, which you might find useful. We won't actually do it. We won't incorporate it into our web map, but I just want to show you the workflow for doing so. So I've switched to our data folder and I've got 2 point line polygons because I've been fooling around with it. But you click on your whatever data that you want to make a view layer of. Now, what this means is it defaults to not being editable, but it's connected to the original, which is editable. So when you make a change in the editable version, that change is reflected in the view layer. Now, the advantage of this is that you can put this into a web map and then a web app, either one. And in any event, it can't be edited. So you can show it to the public or whoever, and it can't be edited. Now, the slight complication here is you have to remember to create a separate web map for that view layer. So you'd call it web map view and then add that view layer to it. So follow me closely here. Now you've got two web maps. One is your original, which has whatever editable layers you want in there. Uh, and whatever feature layers you want to show to the public. The second one is those very same feature layers, or maybe a reduced set, because what you're going to show to the public may not be as full featured, as complicated as your web map. And as I said, you will call the second web map view, and that will have your view layer that you just created. And so we've gone into our points, lines, polygons draft, which is the one we created to just show you how you can create points, lines, and polygons from within ArcGIS Online. Then you go to create view layer and you go to view layer. And then you can choose points, lines, polygons. They're all checked, so they're all chosen. And then next. And here you can define the view, and that's pretty useful. So you zoom in on where you originally drew them or the rough area that you want to have as your view layer. And it can be all of California, or if you're just working within a specific area. So, for instance, Tuolumne County, we can just create that as our defined view. And then next, and the good news is AGOL now adds view as the default part of the naming convention. And we'll put it in data and test line polygon view layer. Then we'll create and success. And now we're back in our files dashboard. And just to show you what's going on here, let's go to settings and we'll cheerfully prevent this from being deleted. It gives an extent here, and you can define it again if you want. But notice that enable editing is by default not checked. So you'd leave that as it is. And we'll save that and go back to the overview. And of course, you'd also want to match your share settings to whatever the original is. So for the moment, we'll keep share as just owner. Probably somewhere in here we'll expand all of our shares to the organization. For our demo maps, you probably wouldn't do everyone. You wouldn't want it to go public just yet. Okay, back to content. And so there it is in our data folder and set as view. And once again, not to beat this into the ground, but you would use that in a separate view web map that ultimately is intended to go to the public, either as a web map, which you can do, although it's not as aesthetic a interface, or more likely as a web app, which you want the public to see. And again, this that was just a demo of the workflow, and so you guys know it's there should you ever need it. Now let's go back to our web map. And if you haven't already, let's open up our web map. And we'll open it in Map Viewer, the new default Map Viewer, not the classic. And it'll come back to wherever we left it. So in this case, I left it on these Northern California fires. Now there's two ways of creating our app. You can do it directly from your web map. It's right here on the left menu bar, Create App. Or if you're just working from within your main Columbia College dashboard, you can do it from your apps dashboard up here. And so Survey 123, Experience Builder, Quick Capture, I'll talk about that later. And you can move these around. So what we're going to work with is instant apps, and you can move that up here so it's easily available to you. When you do that, the app opens up and you then choose a web map that it will work with. In our case, though, we want this as our web map, the one we've been working on, and that'll happen automatically when you go here to create app, and you'll get a set of choices here. You have instant apps, and that's the particular app we'll be working with to create our web map or our web app. You have Experience Builder, which we'll work with in week 3. You have ARC story maps if you want to make a longer consecutive pages story map. And you have dashboards, which we won't be working with, but are really useful in emergency operations or anything where you want to gather together a whole bunch of web pages and be able to analyze the data as it happens. So let's go to Instant Apps. And here you come up with a whole bunch of templates. And kind of confusing, but it allows you to preview it and preview it with the map you've chosen. And you can also check the compatibility here, and that shows the maps that AGOL looks at your map and shows you the templates available that are compatible with the data you're currently using, which is kind of cool. And you can also order them by release date and by name and so on and so forth. So what I want you folks to do is just take a look at a couple of these. So let's preview the basic. And so that's what the basic template looks like with your map. We'll add some more widgets to it. A widget is just a little tool. So for instance, here is opening bookmarks and a magnifying tool to search. And there will be other widgets we can add. So that gives you the option to choose that particular one. But in our case, let's go back and let's see what else is available. So another one that I kind of like for what we're doing here is sidebar. So we'll preview that one. And notice here that it comes with a default of a open search bar where you can just type in a place, an address, or whatever. It has a share widget already installed, and a scale bar. And those come with it. You can add them with other templates, but this one comes with it. The one thing I'm kind of iffy on is over here on the left, it comes with a side pane, which gives you the symbology, which is kind of nice actually, but it takes up real estate of your screen, and there's no way to minimize it, which I think is kind of an oversight. But in any event, that's what we have. So again, go through some of those and think what you want your map to say and how you want it to be used, and then decide on a template. Now I'm going to choose it uh, because this comes up pretty well. And then they want to give it a title, and I'm just going to, for a title, I'm just going to say sidebar, just to show that I'm using the sidebar. And then save in folder web apps, obviously, and then we create the app. And that brings us to the instant app itself, where we'll design our web app for our web map. And there's two ways to go about this. There's the express setting, where we just go step by step through everything, uh, which is pretty easy and straightforward. So we'll do that. And then we'll take a look, see what tools we have as part of the defaults here. And then I'll go to the other setting where we can actually customize a little bit more. Mostly, though, we'll use the express setting and the tools that it defaults to. So you can see how quickly you can do this and get a map out to the public or your friends or whatever. So step one, map, and that's already done for us. And from map, obviously, it shows the map we've chosen. You can select a different map if you decide you want to work with a different map you've created and you don't like the original, but you do, for instance, like all the tools you've previously set up. And you can also see the details of the map, the same details that show up in the contents dashboard for this particular map. But we're happy with this setting as it is. Let's go to next. And here you can choose whether to have a header or not. And so just to better identify the map, we'll choose to have one. And you want to give it a title, and that's obviously just to introduce the map's main topic. And you've got the little information buttons here to give you a little more information about the particular section you're working on. So let's call it Fire Information Map. And then you can choose an introduction panel, which will give a little bit more information about the app you've created. So let's go ahead and do that. And that'll show up in your left-hand navigation bar. So for that, you can choose a specific icon for it. So it can be just the standard information letter like that. And that's probably a good one. So our next choice is, do we want to go with the default of the introductory panel title and having it just say about this map, and that just says, click here to learn about this map. And let's go with the default for the moment. And then you can actually edit the content of that panel. Now I've already put in active fires in California, and notice that you've got a pretty full featured editing app here where you can make it bold and centered and so on and so forth. But this is also where you can put in a lot more detailed information that explains the map and its purpose. And then next, you can put in a text alternative for the map. And this is for folks who are visually impaired and other disabilities so that the screen reader can read off what the map actually is. So you can put in a fair amount of detail there. So again, it could be, active fires in California or Northern California or whatever. Okay, so that does that. Let's go to next. And this decides which panel you want to open in the right part of our sidebar here to open on. And so legend is okay, but it could be any of your feature layers that you've included, or even none, where you can keep it closed. So I'm going to open with legend, which gives the symbology of all of your feature layers. And the next two choices, you can decide uh, whether to include them. And it also gives you a hint to take a look at how it looks in a different device, like a phone or a tablet. And so you may want to get rid of that just to size it better. And then also you can actually decide which layers to include. So for instance, you may not want to include boys or any other part of your feature layers that you've got there, but we'll include them. You want your bookmarks, and we'll want pop-ups because when you hover over something, it'll come up with the data for that feature layer, give the details, so we want those. And as for the next uh, choice, you can edit details content, and that can be where you give more detailed information about the app, how to use it, how to get started, and it also gives you a rich text editor to go into those details. And I've just entered, this is the more details page just to show you what it's going to look like when we bring it up when we finished here. And then you can select the icon for that. And again, let's do a question. Let's do a question mark with a black background. And notice that it's saving with each change you make, it actually changes and you can go back if you truly screw things up. You can go back to an earlier version. And so we're still in the draft version is what shows here. And so let's call that good. And we'll go to next. And it allows a shortcuts menu, but we don't have any shortcuts, so we won't use that. But we do want a search uh, widget in there, so that's already in there, so we'll just keep it. And we want it to open at the start, so it's immediately available. And this is the main source, the ArcGIS World Geocoding Service that's available, and we can add others. So we'll just go with that, and that's how it'll look: find address or place. But if you end up getting more advanced stuff, so if you find a better search database that's either publicly available or available on Esri, you can add that. And there's others out there. Esri has several. So to a certain extent, I'm just adding stuff here just to give you an idea of what it all looks like. So let's go with that. Then you choose a theme, and it's another place where you can fool around and see what you like. Let's try light here. Yeah, let's do that. And you can even add a color. I don't know, let's take a look here. Let's go dark blue and see what that does for us. And finally, you can move the tools around. Uh, and let's get OK out of the way here so we can see it. So we've made the blue top bar fire information map. That's our header. And we have our information button here, active fires in California. And we have our search function here. So if we wanted to move, say, the information button uh, over to the left there, we just drag it over. And notice how it comes over on the left of this toolbar. And if you're using this on a full screen desktop, it's not especially critical, but as you get more experience and look how it works on tablets and phones, it might be useful to move all of the tools widgets onto one side. Okay, so that's the last step of our Express setup here. Here's our set of tools on the left here for the map itself. We've got our legend, we've got bookmarks, we've got our information details, we've got our layer list, and we have information. That might be a little overkill, but once again, I just want you guys to see what's available and what you can put onto your navigation bar. And those are all reflected in this panel here in your sidebar panel. So if you switch that you to layers, you can turn layers on and off. So for instance, we can uh, get rid of fire data itself or weather or anything. Actually, weather's not even showing, but we can turn it on and notice how the wind direction comes up there. Okay, so that was about 9 minutes, and that's how quickly you can set up the app itself. It's actually pretty good right now. You'd want to work on your introduction information pages. Oh, and here's a share button here. Uh, and so that allows you to share the map. You just copy the link directly, or you can post it to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. And now let's publish. Remember, we're only sharing this with ourselves, so we can safely publish it without messing up and having it posted on ArcGIS Online. And that comes up here. It says the owner of the item has access, but nobody else. And then uh, the other share tools there when it was published. And we'll just go with the beep, beep, beep. We'll just go with the defaults here. And then we'll launch it and we'll get an idea of what it looks like live. So there you go. That's pretty good. And that's the Express setup. And it has pretty much all the basic tools. And notice here it's got a right arrow here so we can get that out of the way or show it fully. And layers, our information, more details, our bookmarks. If you'll remember, we made a bookmark in the web map, and the points, all the symbology of all of our feature layers. Okay, let's wrap this video up where we've used the Express step by step to set up our app. And this is pretty good here. I'd be happy with what you can do in the Express step by step. But I'll also show you when we turn Express off and show you some more customizable features. And we'll go through that, and then that'll be it for week 1 and part of week 2 for creating a web app from your web map. So just one more to go. Hang in there.